You got to be hungry. Mr. Washington, Mr. Brown, what do you want to do? Well, sir, I'd like to be a disc jockey. Mr. Brown, if you want to be a disc jockey, you got to be hungry. What do you mean by that, sir? You've got to be willing to do the things that others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. He said you got to work on yourself, develop your mind. You don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. Always strive to get on top in life because it's the bottom that's overcrowded. You got to be hungry. I said, yes, sir, I'm hungry. I want to be a disc jockey, sir. He said, is that right? I said, yes, sir. He said, start listening to Paul Harvey. Start listening to people who are effective communicators. Be conscious of what you're saying and how you're saying it. Because how you express yourself, once you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. See yourself as a radio disc jockey. Start working to get sponsorship. Start creating the radio format that you want. Start developing your personality. I said, wait a minute, sir. I said, I want to be a disc jockey. I don't have a job yet. And then he quoted Whitney Young. He said, it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have one than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. You got to be hungry. So I started working to develop myself and developing my communication skills. I expected to have a radio program, so I created my formats. I started learning how to write commercials and do jingles. And then I came to him one day. I said, okay, Mr. Washington. He said, okay, Mr. Brown, remember, you've got to be hungry. You don't have a college degree. You have no journalism. You have no broadcasting. This is a very crowded field. It's very, very competitive, Mr. Brown. You're going to face no and rejection every day. But if you're hungry enough, the world will make a place for you. So I went to apply for a job on Miami Beach to Milton Butterball Smith, the program director. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. You have any journalism in your background? No, sir. You have any kind of broadcasting experience? No, sir, but I've been training myself, sir. Let me audition for you. Let me show you how good I am. He said, I'm sorry, we don't have any job for you. I was discouraged. I went back and I told Mr. Washington. I said, Mr. Washington? They said, no. He said, don't take it personally. Most people are so negative, they have to say no 7 times before they say yes. He said, you got to be hungry. Go back again. I said, yes, sir. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. Weren't you here yesterday? Yes, sir. Didn't I tell you no yesterday? Yes, sir. Then why are you back today? Well, sir, I didn't know whether or not somebody was laid off or somebody was fired, sir. No one was laid off. No one was fired. I came back the next day. Hello, Mr. Butterball. How are you, sir? My name is Les Brown, sir. I like to be a disc jockey. I know what your name is. Weren't you here the last 3 days? Yes, sir. Didn't I tell you no the last 3 days? Yes, sir. Then why are you back today? Well, sir, I didn't know whether or not someone got sick or someone died, sir. No one got sick, no one died, no one was laid off or fired. Now, don't you come back here again. I came back the next day, talking loud, looking happy, like I was seeing you for the first time. Hello, Mr. Butterball, how are you? He looked at me with rage. He says, go get me some coffee. I said, yes, sir. Sometimes you have to stoop before you conquer. You got to sacrifice before you reign. So I became the errand boy for the disc jockeys. I'll go get their lunch and their dinner, and I'd stand in the control room, and I would not leave until they would ask me to. Then pretty soon, they trusted me to pick up entertainers that came to town. Entertainers like Dinah Ross, and the Supremes, and the Four Tops, and Gladys Knight. I used to drive them all over Miami Beach in the disc jockeys' big, long Cadillacs. I didn't have any driver's license, but I was driving like I had some. Then one day, I was at the radio station, and a disc jockey by the name of Rockin' Roger was drinking while he was on the air. He was slurring his words. It was obvious he was so inebriated he couldn't complete his show. And there I was looking at him through the control room window, walking back and forth, young, ready, and hungry. I was saying, drink, rock, drink. Drink, rock. I'd have gone to get him some more if he'd asked me to. Then pretty soon the phone rang. It was the general manager, and I answered the phone. I said, hello? He said, young boy, this is Mr. Klein. I said, I know. He said, Rock can't finish his program. I said, I know. He said, would you call one of the other DJs in? I said, yes, sir. I hung the phone up. I said, now he must think I'm crazy. I called my mama and my girlfriend Cassandra. I said, y'all come out on the front porch and turn up the radio. I'm about to come on the air. I waited for about 20 minutes and I called him back. I said, Mr. Klein, I can't find nobody. He said, young boy, do you know how to work the controls? I said, yes, sir. He said, go in there and segue the records and don't say nothing here. I said, yes, sir. I couldn't wait to get behind that turntable. I put on a fast record. I said, look out, this is me, LB, Triple P, Les Brown, your platter playing papa. There were none before me, and there will be none after me. Therefore, that makes me the one and only. Young and single, love Domingo, certified, bona fide, indubitably qualified to bring you satisfaction and a whole lot of action. Look out, baby, I'm your love man. I was hungry. I was hungry. Shake somebody's hand on your right and left and say, you gotta be hungry. There are people who come to this country who can't speak the language and they hit the ground running because they're hungry. The people that are hungry are willing to do the things today others won't do in order to have the things tomorrow others won't have. The people that are hungry are willing to make it okay to fail. They're risk takers. The people that are hungry are willing to reinvent themselves, to develop themselves. They know you don't get in life what you want, you get in life what you are. The people that are hungry have goals and practical steps that they engage in and day out. And here's the second to the last principle. Write this down. Repeat after me. OQP. Only quality people. Yes. I want you to connect with at least 10 men before you leave here. Get their names, addresses, and phone numbers. 10 men who are dreamers. 10 men who want to do something with their lives. 10 men that you can get together and make a covenant. Where 2 or 3 are gathered in my name, I will be among you. Get together with 10 men who want to develop themselves, who want to grow, who want more out of life, who see themselves in the future doing better than they have right now. 10 men who've decided that the manpower experience will not just be an emotional catharsis, but they're going to go out and live the message that they've heard preached from this pulpit up here. 10 men who've decided to get serious about their lives, to make a commitment, to commit themselves and their ways and their behaviors and their habits to achieve a better life for themselves, for their families, and the communities and the people that they care about. Attach yourself with 10 men. Why? That gives you hope when there's hope in the future. That gives you power in the present. Let me tell you what happened. Scientists did an experiment with rats, and they dropped them in water and they watched them and they timed it. And these rats swam for about 45 minutes and drowned. And then they put in another group of rats and they watched them, and just before they drowned, they took them out and they let them rest. Then they put in another group of rats, including the ones that had been in before and were saved. And the ones that were put in the second time swam an hour and a half longer than the group that had been put in there for the first time, with the hope and the expectation that they might be saved. Listen to me. The power of assembly, the power of relationships. One goose can fly 75% further in formation with other geese than it can ever fly by themselves. It's important. You find some men here who are serious. Oh, there are people who just came just to see. But there's some men here who are serious, who said, I'm going to change. I'll never be the same again. I want God to use me in a special kind of way. You want to find those men. See, there are 2 types of relationships. There are nourishing relationships and there are toxic relationships. Most people, when you leave here and you face the world and all of your negative, toxic family members and friends, it will knock the wind out of you. That's why you gotta have 10 men to stay in your ear, so when you break down, and you're gonna break down, when you go back to the fiery furnaces of this world and you'll forget everything you heard here, these men can stand with you. When you have your moments in the Garden of Gethsemane and you need someone to tarry with you, these men will pray with you. When you find yourself getting weak and losing control, you need someone to get you anchored again. And these 10 men make this the greatest manpower conference ever because of the relationship that you're going to develop with 10 men who share your vision for a better future. Can I get your commitment on that? And let me share something. There's nothing as powerful as a made-up mind. The human will. For Nelson Mandela, you look at your dream and think they're against the odds. A man being incarcerated for 26 years, with every major government in the world supporting his government and his oppression of his people, in prison. Even Joseph's accomplishment is pale in comparison to Nelson Mandela. And to go from prisoner to president, I say there's a Nelson Mandela in everyone here in this room. And he didn't do it by himself. Jesus didn't do it by himself. He had 12 men who shared his vision. The power of the human will. Come here, John Leslie. The power of the human will. Say it, John Leslie.
The human will, that force unseen, the offspring of a deathless soul, can hew a way into any goal. Though walls of granite intervene, you will be what you will to be. Let failure find its false content of that poor word environment. But spirit scorns it and is free. It masters time and it conquers space. It cows that boastful trickster chance and bids a tyrant circumstance. It uncrowns and fills a servant's place. There is no chance, no destiny, and no fate that can circumvent or hinder or control the firm resolve of a determined soul. Gifts count as nothing. Will alone is great. All things give way before it's too soon or too late. What obstacle can stay the mighty force of the sea-seeking river in its course, or can cause the orb of day to wait? While each well-born soul knows it gets what it deserves. Let the fools prate of luck. The fortunate is he whose earnest purpose never swerves, whose slightest action or inaction always serves that one great aim. Why even death himself stands still and waits an hour sometimes for such a will. Thank you.
I have 4 values, and I'd love to go over those with you and get your interpretation of 1, the importance of these 4 values, but 2, how you effectuated them in your life. The number 1 is a common one between all great thought leaders that I've ever met, and it's gratitude. What does gratitude mean to you, and how do you implement gratitude in your life as a practice?
When I get up in the morning, the first thing that I think about is, 1, I'm here and I'm grateful. And I thank God for my voice, for my ability to still be actively engaged in life, for my family. I just discovered, Dave, just think about this. my birth family. I just laid eyes for the first time at 77 on a picture of my birth mother and father, and connected with my birth family in Gainesville, Georgia. I never knew, something I always wanted to know. And so I'm grateful for that. And I asked God, what am I supposed to do with this? Well, my birth mother was a motivational speaker, and my grandmother was a motivational speaker. They have a museum in her name, Beulah Rucker Museum. These were two very active people. And as I'm reading about them, what I've done is nothing compared to what they did during that time. And so it says to me, you got to step up. You've got more work to do while you're still here, and be grateful that you have the ability to do it. We live in the greatest country in the world that gives us an opportunity to live a life that will outlive us.
That's amazing. And there's no doubt that energetic and genetic inheritance is showing itself and now inspiring you to even be a greater force of empowerment. The second one is truly something that a lot of people get confused about, and it's forgiveness. A lot of people don't understand how powerful forgiveness is. And so I was hoping that you could, give us your perspective and importance of forgiveness in your life.
I like what Mark Twain said. He said, forgiveness is the fresh fragrance a rose leaves on the foot that crushed it.
All right, I can take that. That's a trade. I'm gonna take that one from you.
Or from right. Or see, from a lot of people believe forgiving is forgetting. Forgiving is not forgetting, it's remembering without anger or guilt. And so, just in my case, I had to forgive my birth mother and father. I was angry with them. How could you give birth to someone and leave? But she did what she had to do. She was married. I was a secret, my twin brother and I. And so I'm grateful that she gave us to Mamie Brown. My birth mother, Dorothy Bell Rucker, she gave me life. Mamie Brown taught me how to live life. I'm thankful for that. I'm grateful that she made that decision. She didn't have to, and I'm still here to keep her legacy alive. I sing this song, I got two mothers and I'm not ashamed. I got two mothers and I love them just the same. Oh, you can't handle my voice. You'll be one to put a ring on it.
I love it. No, you sing all day long, man. I love it. Well, the third one, I grew up with a single mom and 6 kids, and my dad left. And I have forgiven myself for all the things that I've done to beat myself up over that. But my mom, powerful woman that she is, taught me about living above the line. She always would tell me, hey, son, there is no blame, shame, and justification. This is your story. You are a victor, not a victim. And you, to me, I get choked up thinking about some of the things I've learned from you about accountability and, taking control of our own lives, because you could have easily been a victim so many different times in your life with all the different issues that you faced and all the challenges that you faced. But you are one of the greatest victors that I know, and I believe accountability is one of the superpowers that has helped you become such a victor. How important is accountability, and how do you execute on accountability in your life?
It's very important. I remember the first home that I bought for my adopted mother, and I didn't do a title search, and we had to move out and go back to the roach-infested house we moved her out of. And the neighbors were out looking, asking, Mamie, are y'all back? Yes, Leslie lost the house. And I was crying and feeling humiliated and unloading the truck. And Mama came behind the truck and she said, Leslie? I said, yes, ma'am. Why are you crying, boy? I said, Mama, I feel so sad. I feel stupid. I didn't know what I was doing, and I failed you. I'm so sorry. And she said something to me I'll never forget. She put her hand under my chin. She said, hold your head up, boy. You have nothing to be ashamed of. We still have each other. And that stayed with me, that what's most important, and what was most important to her, not that I bought her a house and lost it, but we still had each other. And I remember Jacqueline Onassis, and she said that if my children don't amount to anything and I earn all the money in the world and all of the materialistic possessions, what do I have? And what she's saying is, hey, we have each other. And so my mother taught me in that moment, don't focus on things, focus on the people that mean so much to you, because that's where the love is. And God is love, and he who dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in them. You are a CEO, your wife, your mother. You have been through a lot of experiences in life. And through it all, you've decided that that's not going to determine who I'm going to become. You've decided that you're not going to be a victim. You've decided that you will find a way to win. And one of the things I admire most about you, the company that you were working at, you were a top performer, they became envious and jealous. You know about haters. And they wanted her to cut her commission, the amount of money that she was earning honestly, and she wouldn't agree to that, and they fired her. And then you came back. And tell the audience what happened after that.
I turned around and I purchased the company that had fired me.
Yes, in 2 years, she purchased the company that had fired her. Now, the CEO of that former company now works for her. She is his CEO. That's what I'm talking about, up in here, up in here. How did you do that?
Well, when I got fired, I didn't have a choice to sit back and have a pity party. I had 4 children. You talk about you got to be hungry.
Yeah.
Well, literally, I was hungry. But not only me, my 4 children were hungry as well.
Yes.
I was the sole supporter. I had no support system. So I didn't have time to sit back and feel sorry for myself. I had to do something. And being in sales, I started to identify what was missing in doctors' offices. And I started contracting with other manufacturing companies to sell for them. At the same time, while I was doing that, I was saving up my money to build a new product and bring it onto the market. So within that year, I developed a new product, brought it into the market, got the FDA clearance, which is a very long process. At that time, they were only clearing 50% of the FDA clearances. The other 50% were not getting approved. When I asked investors, would you invest in this program? They would say, are you crazy? Marie, stick to what you know how to do. Why don't you stick to sales? But I was passionate about it. I had a dream. I wanted to bring it to market. So I went ahead and pursued that dream. Within 2 years, we got the FDA clearance, and I built that company within 1 year to a $14 million company. Of course, the news spread quite quickly. The previous owners who had fired me contacted me and they said, are you interested in investing in our company? And I said, well, let me take a look at the books. Let me fly over there and see what the financials look like. So when I look at the financials and I'm looking at all the sales, one thing that really stood out to me was that I had done most of the sales when they were the most profitable.
Yes.
Before they fired me.
Yes.
And the sales had tanked.
After they fired you.
After they fired me. And another thing that I noticed.
You know, there's a song called "You Don't Miss Your Water Till the Well Runs Dry," and their well ran dry. Yes. What's the other thing you noticed?
That I was making half of the commission the men were making, but I was making double the sales. So I was exceeding their sales quota.
Even though you were earning half of what they were earning.
Even though I was earning half of what they were earning.
Wow, that's not right.
Yes.
Isn't that something?
Mm-hmm.
How did that make you feel when you discovered that?
I didn't have time to feel bad about it. One thing, I just made a decision. I'm going to own the majority of the shares in this company. And so when I looked at the numbers, I said, you guys, I need to buy the majority of the shares in this company. I need to turn it around, and y'all have tanked it. Y'all have destroyed it. So I negotiated half of what they were asking for, the company. So I purchased it for half of what they wanted.
Oh, good for you.
And when I did that, I made a decision. I was going to do things differently. Everybody was going to get paid the same commission amount.
Yes.
I was not going to pay people differently based on whether they were male or female. None of that mattered. It was all based on, can they get this done? And if they can do it, that we're all going to get paid the same, and I treated everybody equally. Another thing that I did is I gave shares to the employees. I did not want the engineers to leave because they are the ones that are developing the product. So I decided to invest in the employees as well.
So that they have a piece of the pie, and they're knowing they're growing something that they have an investment in.
Exactly.
That says a lot about you. There's a saying, judge a person not by what they do, but what they do that they don't have to do. And to judge the true quality of a person is what they do when nobody's looking. You didn't have to do that, and that says a lot about you.
We talked about, I want to kick this off as far as hunger, right? Is a huge message for you, and it's part of your new book, which we'll talk about. I remember one of your stories is when you were going door to door knocking, and you said you knocked, got rejected, and your friend knocked, got rejected. The difference was he could go home to food and you couldn't.
Yes.
So you had to go on and stay hungry. I'm curious if you step into the shoes of that other gentleman who has his needs met. How do you create that hunger? So I get it if you're in a low spot, but if you're not, how do you create that hunger in someone?
I think that it's a choice.
Yeah.
All of us have areas of our lives that we can make a choice. I have a friend who he's lived a criminal life, and he had a hunger for the dark side. I would say, man, you know what? As many times that you've been in and out of jail, you should have found Jesus by now. Okay? I'm a person, I go to the bathroom, I leave the door cracked. Okay? Oh, come on. I mean, being locked up is not my idea of a good time.
Yeah, I agree.
But he did not care. We make decisions, and our decisions make us.
Yes.
And I believe that there are people who say, this is where I want to go with my life. Robert Frost, and he talks about two roads diverge in a yellow wood, and then I selected the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. The road to life is straight and narrow, and few there be that find it, because few there be that are willing to choose that path that requires discipline, perseverance, and persistence in order to live a larger life. It's a choice.
Yeah.
And many people, because it's easier to go down that path that's no resistance. I have this quote I love very much, that life is a fight for territory. And once you stop fighting for what you want, what you don't want will automatically take over.
Yes.
And if you go through life looking for doing and getting out of life the things you want, following the easy path, you're going to have challenges. If you do what is easy, your life will be hard.
Right.
But if you do what is hard, discipline yourself, monitor yourself, have accountability partners. If you do what is hard, your life will be easy.
Yeah.
And so most people choose the easy path, and sadly enough, they'll die before they change.
Yeah.
9 out of 10, there's a book called Change or Die, and they did this study in the area of a hospital of cardiology patients who had recurring heart attacks, David Dushman, and they said to them, if you follow this program of plant-based diet, exercise, keeping stress to a minimum, social support, you will not have a recurring heart attack. But if you don't, that next heart attack will kill you. Everybody was clear on that. Within 90 days, 9 out of 10 stopped following the routine.
Wow.
And all of them had a heart attack. The only one that did survive was former Vice President Cheney, who was a part of the study.
Yeah.
So most people would rather die than choose to do what's required, to live a more expanded life, to live a life that counts and that's an asset to the world rather than a liability.
Yeah.
That's just the way it is.
Here's something else. As you look at yourself, look at your goals, and look at the things that you want to do, put yourself out there. When I decided that I wanted to speak, I didn't want to just be a speaker. My goal was to be a dominant speaker in my niche.
You've decided you want to be a category king or queen. You didn't just want to be one of the players, you wanted to be a player, the player. And that's why you're here. Iron sharpening iron. That's why you're here, learning some stuff that you don't know right now that will allow you to provide a quality of service for your customers and an experience so that when they leave there, they feel better about themselves. You're getting them in alignment with their vision of themselves and their body. They leave there feeling better about themselves, but talking about you because of the experience and because of the relationship. That's very important during this time in the distraction economy. What do you mean by we're so distracted? So much stuff's happening right now. It's, in many situations, you can't even hear yourself think. And here's something else. And I'm going to just, I've got something I'm going to send you. This is very important. The master key, when I'm looking at my life and I'm asking myself, how did I get here? Look for ways in which you can upgrade your communication. Steve Jobs said, your ability to communicate, he said, the storyteller is the most powerful person in the world. I want you to send me just I'm gonna give you something, get the free, it's called 7 Principles of Storytelling. And it's very important because you have to tell the story about your business, you have to tell the story about yourself, and your ability to tell your story. It's today, in order in this noisy world where we are, you have to be good at telling the story about yourself and about your practice and being in alignment where people are and finding out how you can communicate with them in a way that they can hear you. One of the things about your industry and most industries that a lot of people don't know, it's an ongoing process of educating people with a story that creates the thirst. People say, you could take a horse to the water, but you can't make them drink. No, but if you know how to tell a good story, you can create a thirst where they want to drink. I remember when I ran for state representative and I had been fired from radio, and people who would ordinarily supported me when I was on the microphone, they said, Les, we love you, but man, you lost the microphone, editorializing about all these controversial things. We can't support you, man, and you don't have a chance of winning. You don't have no experience, and you don't have any money to fight the party, all the media supporting your opponent. But they miss one thing. I had a story, and when I was on air as a disc jockey, I used to talk about my mother. And when I went to the radio station, my opponent had over $40,000 because his brother was the head of the treasury for the AFL-CIO, and he had the money and the influence to get more contributors to his campaign than me. I'm a novice. This is my first time in the game. I remember a friend who was trying to talk me into running for office. I said, man, I can't do that. I don't know anything about politics. And Perkins said, neither do the people who run. So he went and got some petitions signed and said, man, you should run. People love you. And here I am on Friday before the election. It was a Tuesday. The election will be on Tuesday. And I came to the station. I had around $640. He said, what you gonna do with that? I said, I'm not sure. And then I got still and I thought, I said, can I go in the control room? And I used to do commercials. He said, yeah. I called my mother because I used to talk about my mama all the time when I was on radio. And I said, Mama, I need you to say something for me. I'm running for state representative. She said, Leslie, what kind of mess you in now? I heard because you're a big mouth, they fired you. I said, Mama, I just need you to say something for me. I ain't got time for this mess, boy. I said, Mama, I'll send you $500. I did Western Union. She said, okay, you better send me my damn money. I said, okay, Mama, I'm gonna record you, but you don't have to talk long. And I played a song by Aretha Franklin called Holy, 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 Come Together People. And then I had her say something. She said, hello, this is Mrs. Mamie Brown. When I raised my boys to be good boys. And when they got out of hand, I beat their behinds. Please vote for my son. He's a good boy. John Glenn called me, Senator John Glenn. He said, man, you call your mama on this dude, you gonna win this. And I did. I got 26,000 votes to his 3,000 votes because people say when they went into the vote, say, I'm voting for Les Brown because his mama said he's a good boy. So being able to tell your story now, to be so good at it that you can't be ignored, to attract more customers, to get referrals, to create the kind of experience that people trust you, that people believe in you, that people feel a connection with you. Because no matter what you're doing and who you're talking to, when you go out in your community and speak to people, they're asking 3 questions. Who are you? What do you have? And why should I care? And so when you know how to tell your story, oh, the possibilities of what you can do and the impact that you can make and the reputation that you develop where people are seek you out and the word goes out. It's major. It's major. So I'd like to leave this with you, and I'm open for questions. If you want a thing bad enough to go out and fight for it, to work day and night for it, to give up your time, your peace, and sleep for it, if all that you dream and scheme is about it, and life seems useless and worthless without it, and if you gladly sweat for it and fret for it and plan for it, and lose all your terror of the opposition for it, and if you simply go after that thing that you want with all of your capacity, strength and sagacity, faith, hope, and confidence, and stern pertinacity, if neither cold poverty, famish, or gold, sickness or pain of body and brain, can keep you away from the thing that you want. If dogged and grim you besiege and beset it, with the help of God, you'll get it.
You've got this book called You've Got to Be Hungry. Why did it take you so long to finally put this book out? And what should we know about it? I want everyone to get this book.
It's different than any other book that's been out there because it's one thing if you are in a majority culture and you're part of the majority. I sent a letter to Gunther Ranker, and they sponsored the infomercial for Tony Robbins, and they sent me back a letter saying, we acknowledge, we receive your requests for a partnership to do an infomercial, but you're Black, and we don't believe that America's ready for a Black speaker. So I sent them back a letter saying, thank you for reminding me that I'm Black. I never would have known that if you hadn't told me. Thank you for reminding me of rejection. He got the complexion of connections. So I said, I'll see you from the top. But that was a good thing because it brought something out of me that says, my destiny is not in your hands. I'm gonna find a way to win. People that are manifesting their greatness, they find a way to win. They are no matter what people. They're like a Walter P. Chrysler who fell 49 times in the automobile industry. They find a way to win. I remember when Muhammad Ali was knocked down the first time by Joe Frazier, and Howard Cosell asked him, why did you jump up so quickly? And Muhammad Ali said, I looked around and saw where I was, and he said, a canvas is no place for a champion. He said, and I jumped back up. And so when you have living your life from a place of knowing that there is something in me that I strongly believe there's a dimension about us that very few people reach for. And I think that's the greatness, and that most people become discouraged when their athletic careers have been cut short and they felt that was the only slot for them in life, and they find someplace else that they will show up and say, I'm going to take a stand here. I'm going to make a difference in people's lives. I'm going to let people know that just because things stopped over here does not mean that you don't have something of value and power over here in this area here. And so you reinvented yourself. And so that life will give us all type of stuff to overcome. You take a person's eyesight, then you have a Ray Charles or a Stevie Wonder. So life will always challenge us. I have this quote I love that said, in life, you will always be faced with a series of God-ordained opportunities, brilliantly disguised as problems and challenges. And so I think that those of us that have been picked out to be picked on, that the greatness has been recognized in us, and that we, as a result of that, we release what Elizabeth Browning called the imprisoned splendor. We rise to the occasion when others fold, when others buckle and run with their tails between their legs. And it brings something out of you that would not give birth had it not been for that adversity.
Oh, man. Can you just keep talking for the next 5 hours? I can listen to you all day, my man. I appreciate it. I can listen to you all day, Les.
Thank you.
I want people to get this book, and I don't know if there's.
It will teach them how to overcome adversity. I've gone through so much. I'm gonna share this with you. I went through an experience with opiates. The challenging part for me was not going cold turkey to get off it, but my kids. I never forget. I was in the hospital for 9 days, and I didn't know it, and I didn't even know how I got there. And so when my son, my second oldest son, Patrick, was driving me to my youngest daughter's house, and I saw these cars, I said, what are these cars doing here? He said, Houston, you get inside. So I came in, and I saw Mike Williams, Mike, who's been my mentor for 51 years, and my other kids, and two people that I didn't recognize. And I said, okay, is this an intervention? He said, yes. I said, who is it for? He said, for you. Me, I'm the intervention king. No, Dad, you've been in the hospital for 9 days. 9 days? No. And then he said, yes, you're unconscious. Why? We don't know. We were just called and said, you're at University Hospital. And then I went to each one of them. I said, look at me. I taught you not to smoke, not to drink, not to do drugs. Do you think I would misrepresent you as your father and do something so stupid? He said, no, but there are two types of drug addicts, Dad. What are you talking about? There are people who pursue drugs and people who are prescribed drugs. You've been prescribed them and you just cooperated. It's just too many. We want you to live. We don't want you to die like Prince. We want you to live. Man, I went to each one of them. That was the most humiliating experience my whole life. And so my youngest daughter said, Daddy, you teachers, that you can't read the label when you're locked in a box. You need help. And she started crying. You taught us to get help, not because we're weak, but because we want to remain strong. And I want you to do this for us. So I said to this couple, I said, okay, I'm ready to go. They said, no, we'll come tomorrow morning. I said, no. I said, you're gonna have to take me tonight. You come here tomorrow morning, I will not be here. I've never been in any place that I couldn't leave when I wanted to. You need to do this tonight. So they drove me about 4 hours to Middletown, Ohio, to this drug program. And I stayed there 5 days. People doing double takes. Are you Barry White? No, you can't be Les Brown, the motivator. Yes, I am Les Brown. I know that voice. You gotta be. I've been listening to you for a long time. What are you doing here? My children say that I'm hooked on drugs. So after those double takes for 5 days, I went into the director. I said, listen to me. There are two types of people. Drug addicts. There are ones who prescribe drugs, and there are ones who go seeking drugs. I said, I was prescribed these drugs for pain, for the sciatica pain and pain for cancer. That's eating 40% of my T1 vertebrae in my spine. And this guy said, every junkie's got a story. Man, I grabbed the phone on his desk. I was about to bust him in the head. And this lady who is his administrative assistant, she said, Mr. Brown, please. I've been listening to you since I was a little girl. And she's crying. She said, trouble is easy to get into and hard to get out of. Please don't hit this man with this telephone. I was about to buzz him in. He called me a junkie. I called my son and said, you better come get me or I'm walking away from here. It was like 12 degrees outside, right? I'm 4 hours from Columbus. And he came, and I was leaving. The director said, he'll be back. I said, I will not. And I went cold turkey. They rushed me to the Cleveland Clinic about 6 different times. And I heard them say on the other side of the curtain, said, you know, if he's in his 30s, he can do it, but not in his 60s. And that night, I prayed to Mamie Brown, my adopted mother, and my birth mother. I said, I don't know your name. You gave birth to me, but I need the two of you to get together and help me have the strength to get through this. They want to give me a drug called Suboxone, and it's addictive. First time, shame on them. They prescribed these drugs to me, and I'm addicted. Now they're gonna give me a drug that's addictive, and they say it's harder to get off, but at least I just be on one addictive drug. I said, I can't knowingly take something that's addictive. The other ones I didn't know, but this I cannot make myself do it. Man, I passed out. I had these dry heaves. I was taken there 6 different times, unconscious. The night I prayed to both my mothers, I said, I need your help. Please help me, because I'm not going to do this. And then the next morning, Louis, I had no gagging, no dry heaves. The next morning, when I got up, I had an appetite. The next morning, no cold chills and hot flashes. The next morning, I got my strength back, and I knew I was on the other side of it. And I said to them, both of them, thank you so much. Thank you for getting me through this experience. Y'all can rest now, because I ain't gonna be I won't even take an aspirin. When they prescribe something for me in Cancer Centers of America, I ask them, what's in this? Is it addictive? Do you have non-addictive pain medication? We do. Why didn't you prescribe that to me? You really want to know? Yes, I do. The addictive ones are more expensive.
Wow.
The pills pay the bills, Mr. Brown. The pills pay the bills. I'm sorry. I said, I am too, and I'm so glad that I'm not the young man that I used to be, because I'd have tore this office up with you. Let me tell you something.
Hit you over the head, yeah.
It's about to make me lose my mind. Up in here, about to make me act a fool up in here. Oh my God. But you know, it's all good. Had I not been fired from radio, we would not be having this conversation. Had I not gone through that experience, there are people, and why I wrote her in the book, I said we have 3 lives. We have a public life, we have a private life, and we have a secret life.
And I said, I'm going to share something I've never shared before. And I said, if it helps one person to know that it's possible that they can get off those drugs, then it's worth it to me to risk my credibility and my reputation and share that with them. Because they're going to say, if Les Brown can do it, I can do it. At 75, he's a tough cookie, and they're right.
You are, man. I appreciate you, Les. I miss you, man. I hope to get to hug you soon.
Yes.
I appreciate your energy, your presence, your storytelling as always. I really acknowledge you for the incredible gift you are. I know both your mothers would be incredibly proud of you for how you continue to show up, how you face adversity and inspire people like myself and anyone that turns on your voice and reads your words and is a witness to your example. You're an incredible gift to this world.